the season you're in right now isn't here to break you, but to build the kind of leader you've always been meant to become. In this episode, I get real about leading through adversity, not the hypothetical kind, but the gut punch, uninvited mess on your doorstep kind. Whether you're leading a team, a company, or just trying to lead yourself out of a rough season, this episode is packed with mindset shifts and truth bombs you need to stay rooted, rise strong, and lead with clarity, not chaos. You're going to walk away with a proven mental framework for navigating adversity without spiraling, a leadership mirror to check your tone, energy, and presence in tough moments, a reminder that growth isn't in the easy, it's forged in the fire, tools to create psychological safety and trust on your team, and the boldness to rise, not just survive. Welcome back to another episode of Evoke Greatness, where we don't do mediocre. We're here for the bold, the curious, those who lead with fire and grit and absolutely refuse to settle. Today, we're diving into something real and raw, leading through the hard. Not if the hard time comes, because let's be honest, they will, but how you show up in them. That is what separates leaders from title holders. Whether you're leading a team or a company or even just yourself, the way you navigate adversity has a lasting impact. So let's talk about it. The mindset, the mistakes, the magic. Let's pull back the curtain on what it really takes to lead when things get messy. Here's the truth. Fear is contagious, but so is calm. As leaders, what we project in difficult times becomes the emotional temperature of the entire room. I was watching a reality show over the weekend, and it's a behind the scenes with a yachting crew. And one of the team members got unexpectedly called up to fill a position that ranks above where he normally is. For example's sake, we're just going to call him Brad. I don't remember his name, but we'll call him Brad. And he excitedly agreed to step into this role. And underneath it all, he was really, really nervous. Now, the rest of the crew was shorthanded and everyone was just making it work. They were giving 110%, but several crew members commented throughout the episode how Brad was so calm and cool. He never exhibited a nervous energy. He didn't appear uncertain. And that helped them to just keep trucking along. Now, ask Brad. Yeah, he was really nervous, but he kept putting one foot in front of the next and assessing what needed to be done. And he just did it. He did it scared. He did it probably lacking some confidence. And he knew that what he showed outwardly could impact the rest of the crew. So he just kept strong and steady. And neuroscience backs this up. Our teams subconsciously look to us for cues on how to interpret the chaos. So if we spiral, they spiral. If we steady the ship, they grab an oar. They get to rowing. But let's not confuse calm with fake positivity. I'm not saying pretend everything's fine when it's not. I think that's inauthentic and people can sniff that out. What I am saying is get rooted. Pause long enough to separate the facts from your fears. Because when you're in fight or flight mode, your brain is scanning for danger. It goes back to the caveman days when you're waiting to see if a lion is going to jump out of the bush to eat you. And so engaging and thinking in this way, the way that your brain is scanning, if you're not careful, you're going to lead from a place of protection instead of purpose. And you'll start managing to avoid pain instead of driving toward vision. And guess what? Your team, they're going to feel it. Fear whispers things like, you can't trust anybody. You're going to fail. Play it safe. Don't rock the boat. We've all had these stories go on in our mind. And that fear then becomes projection. And if you don't check it at the door, it's going to leak out in your tone and your decisions and your leadership presence. Now, once the dust starts to settle, it's time to get really honest. What actually happened? Not the story your ego wants to tell, not the drama or the narrative that fear created, but the truth. What actually happened? This is where radical responsibility comes in. So ask yourself, sit back and assess, where was the breakdown? What was my part in this? What did I miss or ignore or underestimate? I have an everything is my fault mentality. As the CEO, regardless of what happens in the company, I have ownership in it. And so sometimes the truth stings. But that sting, that is the beginning of your growth. Because clarity leads to action. And action is how we proceed forward. Now ask, what needs to be true for this to not happen again? What needs to be true for this to not happen again? Maybe it's a hard conversation. Maybe it's more accountability. Maybe it's slowing down before making decisions. Maybe it's the wrong person in the wrong role. Maybe it's giving your team more ownership or learning to actually trust them with it. There's a powerful pattern at play here. And that is, you've got the hard thing that can lead to self-reflection, which can lead to a clear lesson, which leads to a stronger leader, but only if you're willing to do the work. And I know you are, because mediocre people don't listen to Invoke Greatness. Here's where it gets good, though. When you lead through difficulty with grace, honesty, and intention, it does more than just solve a problem. It shapes culture. You're showing your team what real leadership looks like. You're creating psychological safety, a space where they know it's okay to stumble. It's okay to own mistakes. It's okay to grow. And that builds trust. And you're also modeling resilience, not the grinded out kind, but the kind that pauses and learns and adapts. And people do not forget that. You become the kind of leader they follow, not because they have to, but because they actually want to. Because you show up in the fire and you don't run. You lean in, you learn, and you lead. And the best part, these moments stretch you too. They build your emotional intelligence. They deepen your empathy. They sharpen your decision making, and they chisel away at the fluff to forge something real. Leadership is not about avoiding hard times. It's about becoming the kind of person who knows how to move through them and brings others with you. So I'm going to leave you with this. The hard seasons will come. That's not failure. That's life. But you, friend, you are a leader. Don't waste the lessons. Don't project the fear. Do the work. Own your part and find the root. Build from it. Because when you lead well through the hard, you don't just survive it. You actually shape it. You become the thermostat instead of the thermometer. And on the other side of that challenge, a more impactful, more empowering, and more unstoppable version of you awaits. And don't you forget that hard times do not define you. How you rise through them does. So rise with courage, lead with heart, and never stop becoming the kind of leader that the world desperately needs. I don't know who, but somebody needed to hear this today. Somebody listening is absolutely in the thick of it. And so I hope this landed just as you needed it to. If you know somebody going through the hard right now, please share this episode with them. I wish you all an amazing rest of your week.
Thank you so much for listening and for being here on this journey with me. I hope you'll stick around. If you liked this episode, it would mean the world for me if you would rate and review the podcast or share it with someone you know may need to hear this message. I love to hear from you all and want you to know that you can leave me a voicemail directly. If you go to my website, evokegreatness.com, and go to the Contact Me tab, you'll just hit the big old orange button and record your message. I love the feedback and comments that I've been getting, so please keep them coming. I'll leave you with the wise words of author Robin Sharma. Greatness comes by doing a few small and smart things each and every day. It comes from taking little steps consistently. It comes from making a few small chips against everything in your professional and personal life that is ordinary, so that a day eventually arrives when all that's left is the extraordinary.